Dustin, very good to see you. We are getting back to basics today. I want to talk through the retirement bucket strategy, something we've all heard of. Everyone, of course, wants sustainable income in retirement, and the retirement bucket strategy divides our savings according to time horizon and purpose. So let's start high level. How does the bucket strategy work?
Yeah, so this is a very simple concept. It's meant as a way to provide consistent income without having to worry so much about what share prices are at any given point in time in order to pay your bills. And all we're really talking about is dividing up your retirement portfolio into different buckets for different time periods with different purposes. And, if we look at this example, for example, bucket number one, we might be talking about a bucket to provide income for 5 years or maybe as few as 3 years. Understand there aren't any hard and fast rules. This is a strategy that you're going to want to build according to your needs and aligned with your plan and your circumstances.
All right, so let's dive into specifics then. I want to talk through that first bucket. What is in our short-term bucket?
Yeah, so the purpose of that first bucket, that's meant to be safe money and liquid money. That's the primary purpose of that bucket. We're not really focused on growth in bucket number one. Some examples of investments in that bucket might be cash, money markets, CDs, or multi-year guaranteed annuities.
All right. And now that bucket, Dustin, protects us against sequence risk. Can you explain that, please?
Right. We want the money that we're going to spend very soon in that bucket number one. We want that spending to occur predictably. Okay. So if you've got volatile investments, let's say in stocks, okay, you don't want to lock in losses or sell those stocks at a deep loss. But we don't know at any given point in time what order or sequence your returns on a volatile investment, what order or sequence those returns are going to come in. So you don't want the money that you're going to use to pay your bills immediately in something like stocks, because doing that can be very unpredictable and can have catastrophic consequences for your retirement.
Right, exactly. All right, let's keep moving along, though. I want to talk about our intermediate bucket. What's in here and what's its purpose?
Sure. So bucket number two, along with bucket number three, those buckets are meant to feed that bucket number one to provide that stable, consistent, and predictable income. Typically, bucket number two, we're talking about income-oriented investments here. So this is a conservative to a moderate approach in bucket number two. We might be looking at intermediate bonds or as a bond alternative, fixed or indexed annuities, a way to lock in some gains without exposure to the stock market. We might include dividend paying stocks as a way to produce income that's less volatile than, say, growth stocks. I also love the idea of including structured notes in that bucket number two as a low volatility strategy that allows us oftentimes to achieve above average yields.
And now let's talk about our long-term bucket. This bucket has become increasingly important because we are living longer. Our retirement years may be as long as our working years. And just to kind of underscore why this bucket is important, Dustin, we like this visual because it shows how it can replenish the other buckets.
Absolutely. So as we're drawing down on bucket number one, we're using money in bucket number two and bucket number three to replace those funds.
Yeah.
And, when we're talking about longevity, when we're talking about the possibility of a long retirement, one of the biggest risks that we encounter is inflation. So remember, over 24 years at a 3% inflation rate, the value of your money is cut in half. That means even if you're in retirement or you're of retirement age, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have some portion of your retirement plan or your bucket strategy allocated towards growth to help keep pace with that inflation. You should. Okay. So this would be our more aggressive bucket. Oftentimes would be allocated heavily here to equities or stocks to replace some of the money that we're spending in bucket number one and number two. And keep in mind, because we've got that bucket number one and bucket number two, it gives us time for that bucket number three to recover from corrections or bear markets or drawdowns on those investments. So gives us a longer period of time to make those returns more consistent on that bucket number three. And one of the other things we love doing oftentimes with bucket number three, if you've got Roth money, okay, oftentimes we'll use Roth accounts. It's the perfect place to put bucket number 3 money, those more growth oriented, aggressive funds. And the reason for that is, let's just assume a 20% tax rate. Well, if you have money allocated in growth investments and you get $1 worth of growth in a taxable account, it's only worth 80 cents to you. If you get $1 worth of growth in a Roth account, that dollar is worth 100 cents to you. Okay. So it makes a lot of sense oftentimes to put that growth oriented money on the back end of the plan, not just for your retirement, but also for your estate plan, for any funds that are left over. So your heirs receive, your beneficiaries receive those more tax advantage funds as well.
Yeah, that tax-free growth is really powerful. Dustin, if somebody would like to talk to you about whether their money is properly segmented, what's the best way to reach you?
They can text me a question at 830-476-2505 or reach out on the website to book a free chat at longlivemymoney.com.
Great. Dustin, thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.